Well, hello again to all of you very fine and lovely people. My name is Sam and I would like to welcome you all to the newest edition of the weekly series Weird Mind Newsroom, of course, where for another week we will be back to focus on discussing all the ideas, all the new releases, trailers and news that we have for this week of content. So let's not waste too much time on the usual introductions, let's get to talking all things media that we do have for another week.
Round 2.
So on the first of the new releases has once again seen the greatest fighters of the universe come together all in the name of testing your might and proving who is the best. And it looks like we have an array of all new challengers in the mix, and this case can be seen with another mortal from Earthrealm who may be ready to take a punch. But this could be something that he plays in movies, but will be done to prove his worth in this bloody fight to the death. As after a long wait and initial delay, we now have the release of the all-new video game adaptation sequel of Mortal Kombat 2. Now, the film will follow on from the first reboot film and follow the fan-favorite champions, which now includes them recruiting the legendary action film star of Johnny Cage, played by Karl Urban. As you're pitted against one another in the ultimate battle to defeat the dark rule of Shao Kahn, threatens the very existence of the Earthrealm and its defenders. The reception on this new take of the series has been very well received, with praise of the action, fights, performances, particularly with Urban's Johnny Cage, and for being a more fun and focused adaptation compared to the previous attempts before. And if you're ready for the second round of fights, then you can check this film out now in cinemas. Our second film for this week will be quite the unexpected sense of mystery, where we are used to the likes of the detective coming along, guard the suspects to solve the crime, but in the case, these detectives are a lot more hairy, but than we expect them to be, as a new breed of mystery is about to unfold, as we have to release the all-new film based on the book known as The Sheep Detectives. Now, the film follows a shepherd named George, played by Hugh Jackman, who loves to read murder mysteries to his flock of sheep, never suspecting that they can understand him. However, when George is found dead under mysterious circumstances, the sheep decide to solve the crime themselves, even if it means leaving the meadow for the first time and facing the fact that the human world isn't as simple as it appears in the books. The reception of this film has been very well received, with praise in the concept, adaptation of the original novel, and the all-star cast, ever having a lot of heart and humor sprinkled throughout, and could be seen as one of this year's best reviewed films. If you want to check it out for yourself, it is also available to check out now in cinemas. Our final film for the week is more on focus on experience and possibly a way to see an artist for a more affordable price. Have you seen prices for concerts and Ticketmaster? Jesus, unbelievable. As it looks like this famous artist and one of the pioneers of filming technology is bringing us an all-new concert experience, as we have the release of Hit Me Hard and Soft, the tour live in 3D. In this concert movie, we'll see the focus of music superstar Billie Eilish as she takes the audience on an immersive concert experience across her most recent tour, from developing the show, set list, interactions with the fans, and all the other good bits from the event itself and all behind the scenes stuff. Now, reception of this concert film has also been very well received, praising the focus some of the other concert-based movie projects of recent memory, the deeper look at the creation of the concert, and the 3D effects implemented for this movie, and it seems like it could be a good fun time if you missed out on the performance itself. If you want to check it out, you can catch this film also out now in cinemas. On our TV for this week, it'll be time for a sense of a high-end mission, a group of a plan, and all in the focus to save the world and looking good while doing so. As after about a 3-year gap between seasons, the most expensive TV series of espionage has returned, as we have the release of the second season of Citadel. The new season sees a terrifying new threat emerge, and we'll see Nadia, Mason, and Bernard being brought back together into action and must recruit an unlikely team of skilled new operatives and launch a global spanning mission to stop a conspiracy that could reshape humanity. The reception of this new season may not have a lot of reviews currently, but for a few that I have seen, seems to be a bit mixed to modest. It seems to be a case that while it has shown a sense of improvement from the first season, it still has a mixed opinion about the multitude of narratives happening at once that may not always be properly connected to a full story overall. But it seems like a enjoyable watch. And if you want to check it out for yourself and report for a new mission, then you can catch out the full new season out now on Amazon Prime. And our final new release for this week, and our only game title that's in focus, the concept of growing up, protecting that bond, and finding the music that will keep you together, even if they are far apart. As we have the release of the all-new title from Annapurna Interactive Studio Games with the release of Mixtape. Now, the game is inspired by 1980s coming-of-age films and will follow teens Stacey Rockford, Van Slater, and Cassandra Marino as they make their way to a party on their last night of high school as they reminisce about their teenage years together growing up in North California and learn of their hopes and aspirations, like Rockford wanted to be a music supervisor. Their reception on this title has been very well received, with praising its visuals, its narrative, characters, gameplay, and having its coming-of-age inspiration proudly on its sleeve, and seen as one of this year's best titles currently reviewed. If you want to play it for yourself, then you can play it now on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, Nintendo Switch 2, and PC. Now, with all that regards now, that's all the new releases that we do have for this week.
Let's take it to 'em, bud!
On our trailer side for this week, we start with the title that will be seen as one of the big releases of the summer. That has had a bit of a debate on the outcome overall this last week. It's time for a new take on one of the most acclaimed pieces of literature ever written. Tales of the Defy the Gods will be unleashed as we have the release of the second trailer from the all-new adaptation from Christopher Nolan of the Odyssey. Now, based on the book and stories of Homer, the film will tell the tale of King Odysseus, played by Matt Damon, legendary Greek king of Ithaca, and his long and perilous journey home following the Trojan War, which chronicles his encounters with mythical creatures such as the Cyclops Polyphemus, Sirens, and the witch goddess of Circe, while attempting to reunite with his wife Penelope, played by Hannah Hathaway. So I may have been noticing a bit of a discourse about this project, but this seems to be a bit of an issue to some people, or maybe it's just the case people have to complain on a lot of things lately, not really giving something of a chance to fully release. And like I say, there are some elements of this that I can say have a bit of a mixed appeal on, from the delivery of dialogue that sounds a little bit goofy or really out of place for the Greek tragedy. But I think for a fair bit of it may just be out of context for the moment, and for the most case, I do feel that Nolan can make something interesting. Very interested to see his take on an epic like the Odyssey, and done in under 3 hours as well, from what I've been told. As most of it's I've really seen showing more of the mythical aspects, unique approach to the practical approach of the creatures, like the Cyclops and other sea creatures, and I'll give this a chance and see for the full final project when this epic journey arrives in the cinemas from the 17th of July. Our second trailer this week is moving from the massive blockbuster to an ordeal of horrors abound that will see the case of sometimes something as simple as having a mysterious book to help in the tragedy can lead to the unleashing of untold horrors and a massive bloody affair to follow, as the release of the second and full-length trailer for the upcoming new entry of the long-running horror series of Evil Dead Burn. The new film will follow a woman who will look to seek comfort at her in-laws in their remote home after losing her husband in a tragic car accident. However, after the discovery of an ancient book, the family reunion will soon begin to form a hellish nightmare. So when I remember the first teaser dropped about 2 weeks ago was one that I felt was a bit more tame compared to how the series is usually known for, but this one went all in on the graphic gore and horror imagery in this trailer. Well, they had the Red Band one in particular, and when cleaner a few days later, it seemed like they went to go all in on the horrors about for the unleashed aspects of the Necronomicon. In any case, if this was to be a case if I ever went to see this film in cinemas, it'd likely be from the floor after fainting a couple times my effects of hemophobia, and even from some elements of this trailer from the first characters and focus covered in blood, or the focus of the dishwasher aspect of this trailer, I felt I could handle this, and I hope this will have a focus and plan to it all, and not overdo this series. But I guess we will find out soon enough, with these deadites of horror being unleashed in the cinemas from the 24th of July. Our third trailer this week is the Soul video game trailer, which came out of nowhere. This was kind of shadow dropped by the IP company that usually does these directs as similar things, but it was bound to happen eventually. But it's time to get the crew ready, fuel the R-Wings, prepare to engage targets, as we have received the trailer for the reveal of an all-new take / reboot remake of the popular Nintendo IP of Star Fox. Now seen as the probably 4th or 5th remake of the original SNES title of the game, you will take on the role of Fox McCloud, the leader of the Star Fox team, alongside Peppy Hare, Slippy Toad, and Falco Lombardi will take the battle across vast locations and planets, and do so to stop the reign of Andros and from the destruction of the Lilat system, with this new take getting some new features, expansions, level the narrative, and all other forms. This has been quite the absence for the series. Last time the series came out in 2016, so this return after a decade is quite a feat, even if I hoped a little more of an all-new entry besides telling the exact same story for around a 5th time, which kind of rivals the likes of Last of Us Part 1 and Resident Evil 4 for how many remasters and remakes it gets. But in this case, I will say the visuals and crisp gameplay and new features do look pretty solid. But we must also talk about the big elephant in the room, and that is with the debate of the new designs of the characters, as they have gone in a more real animal aesthetic, similar to the box art of the old. That's had people a bit divisive, that where the likes of Peppy and Slippy look pretty accurate, Fox is a little bit off but still likable, but most people feel a bit weird about Falco's more realistic design, but I guess this kind of comes with the features, and apparently the original creator is a bit more so of a different design. But for one, I hope will be brings the appeal back to the series and we get another proper Star Fox akin to likes of Star Fox Assault or Adventures, but I guess we'll see in due course. And surprisingly, it's not too long away from release either, as you'll be taking off onto the Switch 2 in a month's time on June 25th. And our last of the trailers this week is one that will have a bit more of a connection in some ways to the previous trailer, but from the animation studio that has been making money with their big IP of Mario, and be turning to their essentially cash cow franchise, the small creatures that want to find a master to be their henchmen for. But in this case, we'll be focused with story before their years of hiding and seeing in the realm of focus of their time in the industry of Hollywood. That has some monstrous outcomes, as we have the release of the second and final trailer for the third film of this spin-off franchise, with Minions and Monsters. Now, set as a prequel to the original Despicable Me and the first two Minions films, the new entry will see the Minions in 1920s Hollywood, with some Minions of James, Henry, and Ed looking to get into the industry and create their own monster film. Though the power of some spiritual incantation that summon a small form of Cthulhu will help them find some real monsters for their monster movie, and I am sure everything will work out in the process, right? So, to tell you the truth, this was probably not the route I was expecting these films and spin-off to go in, as I thought this would continue the approach of the previous film with the Minions as henchmen to a more teenage Groot. But I guess we'll probably have a snag and go on a prequel to the prequel, and seeing the period of them making a presence in Hollywood and focusing the appeal and love of filmmaking in an interesting one. And I'm sure it could bring a sense of chaos and mischief that only the Minions can provide. I mean, I question the choice that happened at the very end of this trailer, because they may be quite the dark bit of imagery there, but I'll give us a bit of a chance with the film creation being unleashed into cinemas from the 1st of July. With all that regards now, that's all the new trailers that we do have for this week.
Hocus pocus, there's pizza on your focus.
Well, it's another week again, another round of all the forms you're serving of the hodgepodge of content that will consist and give an insight in all forms of content on the way from release date announcements, castings and production shakeups, and maybe an announcement or two in the mix as well. But let's actually see what there is to look forward to in the future. And well, first on the focus will be some release date announcements, and it seems that while the mainline DCU will be bringing us a new take on the popular Kryptonian and like his cousin Kara, it looks like the animation side of things will also be getting something as well, as it's announced that the 3rd season of the popular series of My Adventures with Superman has gotten themselves an official release date, with a new season set to premiere from the 13th of June. Now, from the poster that is shown, it looks like there's a sense of dread of Superman being controlled by a form of red kryptonite, or it could be a form of a droid created by Lex Luthor as a sort of like a bizarro Superman approach, but it does seem like they were given a bit of a sense of dread for our heroes. Now, this show, as I have seen over the last little while, has been proven to be a success, and there was a bit of a freshness this character needed after the more sort of darker tone of the Snyderverse take on the hero that we have focused on over the last decade, but I'm interested to see how they will work this new season of content. I'm sure we're getting into idea of the season with the trailer in due time before its eventual release in about a month's time on June 13th. Then from Superhero Takes, a serving of a 5-course meal, we're heading back over to Chicago for a fine bit of cuisine for one last serving, as was announced that the 5th and final season of the popular series of The Bear has gone a last orders call, with the servings beginning from the 25th of June. Now, in all case of things, I need to get back to watching this series with my mom, as we were well into the show for at least up to the middle of about the 2nd season, or maybe the start of the 3rd, but I could see the show having its appeal in the beginning before I heard some say it started to lose the appeal of the focus after the 3rd season, presumably, but we'll need to confirm on that. But I feel this is the best to bring to a fairly rounded conclusion and serve your finest dish for the final round, but I'm sure we can see what will come of it all when it releases at the end of next month. The last of the release dates in focus for this week will be bringing us to the realm of suburbia, where we'll be checking in on a few familiar faces once again, and to see if that boy is right once more, as is availed that the 2nd season of the King of the Hill revival is on the way, with this new season confirmed to be releasing on the 20th of July. Now, after the surprise revival success and appeal of the previous season, it seems they have a few more stories in mind for this adult animated sitcom and can provide even more elements of narrative for Hank, Peggy, Bobby, and the rest of the residents of Arlene, Texas. I'm sure it could be a cause that once they don't overdo it and have a direction for the series, but I'm sure it will work out overall. I guess we can find out and release in about 2 months' time.
Now for the movie announcements, dear viewers of Projects and It Seems. The first one is quite the overall far-out announcement and found from the many corners and points of the underworld below, where I'm sure may be a bit more of a happy day in hell. As announced about a week or two ago that the animated series of Hazbin Hotel has been renewed for a 5th season, but also in the case that the 5th season will be the final one of the series. Now, this is quite a stretch of the announcement given as the writing for this visual mediocre video podcast of sorts that only 2 seasons have released so far. And don't worry, this creative idiot who can dress himself for the occasion will be getting around to that season in due course to give him rambling thoughts on soon. And it's unclear when we will expect those 2 other projects previous season. Let out the grand conclusion of a narrative saga, but I'm sure we'll have a plan and will likely see the next 2 lead to a conclusion, as long as we get some antagonists who have as big of an ego as the one from last season with its shiny screen display, then I'm all for this conclusion. But for now, dear listeners, we'll have not much else in discussion. If there are any new updates to this, I'll provide in a later story, so stay tuned.
As for the focus on all new announcement, it seems something more wicked this way comes for another go around, and seems to be a much quicker follow-up than expected, as it was announced this week that a 3rd film based on the Disney classic of Hocus Pocus is now in development for Disney+. Now, this seems to be going off the surprise success of the long-awaited sequel to the original cult classic film from the 90s, and we'll see the return of the Sanderson sisters, who will be back to cause more mischief and mayhem and spellbinding outcomes as well too. Of course, being the success and the viewership numbers of that last entry, that despite the more mixed positive reception by critics, the audiences seem to be a bit more underwhelmed or disappointed by that follow-up than maybe from the lack of the other cast members returning from the original film, but maybe they can make it up for the 3rd entry or something in the series. And I mean to give it a proper rewatch to that 2nd one, because I can't recall if I ever finished that. Now at the moment, besides the main trio of witches, we have no idea who else will be joining the cast, and no in the case of when we can expect this release, but once I do hear anything about this, I'll try and provide that in a later episode as well. Now in the last section of some production shakeups and confirmations, we'll be heading over to a series of films and franchises that seem to have found a placement and solid direction from a recent reboot, and looks like they have the next person taking on the role of building on the world run by humanoid hominoids. As was announced this week that Fantastic Four First Steps and WandaVision director Matt Shakman will be taking the reins of the newest film based on the Planet of the Apes franchise. Now, it seems he'll be taking over from previous director of Wes Ball, as he's currently busy deep into post-production on the first of the planned trilogy film adaptations of the Legend of Zelda series. It will probably going to be a bit of a time before he would have been back working on this follow-up to Kingdom in particular. Now, the thing about this is that it's a little uncertain as to what the approach will be, as some reports I've heard about this will be that's not going to be following on from Kingdom and maybe its own separate story, essentially making it another reboot in the franchise. But this could be misconstrued and it could be a continuation in regards. We don't know yet. I have hope with this project. I felt with Shakman that he had a clear eye for some genre settings and pieces from the works of WandaVision and Fantastic Four that could work out. Though this also could bring up a case that apparently if he does this, he may not be back to direct the eventual sequel to First Steps, but nothing has been made official on that side of things yet. At the moment, we have no word on when exactly we'll be getting this follow-up, but if I hear anything new about this, or if it's going to continuation or be a reboot, I'll provide it in a later episode. And for the last of the stories and one focus casting on this week, it looks like it'll be a focus in the realm of some more superhero news, as it looks like the first the Marvel and DC crossovers of a new era for a while will be making its focus clear, and it seems the Man of Steel will have someone new making an appearance, as a report on Friday the actor Matthew Lillard has been casted in the upcoming sequel to last year's Superman with Man Tomorrow. Now Lillard has had his presence in some hero-based projects, as recently just in the recent season of Born Again as the character Mr. Charles, and has had his share of working with director James Gunn before in the past, as he at least forget he worked with him on the production of the early 2000s Scooby-Doo films where he played Shaggy, and Gunn was a writer on both of those movies. Now at the moment it's unclear of who will be portraying, but some sources seem to be pointing to a possible introduction of another new hero to the sequel, similar to how in the original film had Guy Gardner's Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, Mr. Metamorpho, and Mr. Terrific, just to name a few. And some are possible pointing to Lillard playing the DCU version of Plastic Man, which I can see, but maybe it's just going from initial talks and making that film back in the early 2000s that never went anywhere, but I guess we may find out who will be playing the new editions of Brainiac and others in the sequel as production continues overall at the moment. But once I hear anything about this, I'll provide that in a later episode as well. But in this regards, what are your thoughts on all these stories? Will you be checking out the new season of My Adventure with Superman, and what are your thoughts on the first two? Will the Bears stick the landing for the final season, or do you feel it's lost its appeal over time? Will King of the Hill's newest season be good, and do you see it continue for a few more seasons? What are your thoughts of Has-Been getting a fifth season, and what do you think the plot will entail? And have your thoughts of the first two seasons so far? Is the likes of preferred Hocus Pocus appeal to you, or do you see it as unnecessary? Do you think Shaq will do well with Planet of the Apes film, and will it connect to the recent films, or will it be its own thing? And what do you think Lillard will be playing in the Superman sequel? Let me know what you think of all these down below in the comments, and with all that regards, that's all the news that we do have for this week.
It was a prank! We were just fooling!
And in case with all of that, that ends episode 155 of Weird My Newsroom, and hope you enjoyed my ramblings for probably a little over 20 minutes, but maybe under. We don't know yet. But let's give a quick follow updates and see what we're expecting from this channel. So in case reviews wise, I'm very close to finishing the last one. I just have to go through the episode stuff. I'm just gonna go through episode by episode. Some snack size box office ones will be coming along, and other genres and other things and stuff like that, and lengths and variations will be coming, so do look forward to those. Then the case of some gameplay stuff. So I have been playing a bit more streaming stuff. I know what, I'm trying to get a few more days in this week. I'll be kind of doing like at least 1 to maybe 2 a week, but I need to kind of do more streaming stuff with that and then upload the VODs. So I'll try and edit some small bits down and find some clips and stuff to go with those regards of things. And then I'll get back to doing some other gameplays, maybe some solo stuff as well, like DK Bonanza, Mario Wonders, Cyberpunk, Star Wars Outlaws, and all the bits and pieces. But I might move them to streaming, but we'll see in this regards of stuff. And we start some other stuff like Alan Wake, Atomic Heart, more Resident Evil from Silent Hill stuff, and you get the gist. And some other new games like Vengeance Lane and everything like that, so look forward to those. Then a case of long form stuff as well. The rewatch-a-thon's coming. The AI Choice video is coming. Horrormo's Boar Volume 2. The next time-lapse build is coming, which I might move into like gameplay stuff, but we'll see in this regards as well. And the case of the anticipated media and other bits and pieces will be coming along, so as well as that concert one I promised you, so look forward to those in due time. But with that regards, I'm going to end the episode there for now. So if you like what you see here, want to see more from me more frequently, simply like, subscribe. I also upload new stuff every single week, and I'm aiming for 750 to 1,000 subs, so any support would be greatly appreciate it. If you want to save yourself 10% on some pure crack, and use my code Sam Harrison. It's all one word, all caps kind of thing. You can save yourself a tasty beverage as we head into the summer months, and keep you energized, keep your fuels, and help your sleep schedule and other things and stuff. And let me know your thoughts on everything discussed this week, from new releases, trailers, and news stories, and all this sort of stuff, and give your thoughts down below. And I'd love to have a conversation with any of you, so in that regards of things. But with that regards, I'll leave it there for now. So as always, you all still be wonderful people. Have a great day every day, doing many great things, and keeping you because no one else can do what you do. And I've been your host Sam, of course, and I'll see you all in the next one. So take care, and I'll see you later.